there's just a lot of things converging at one time. I was thinking the other day that one of the most common feedback I have when I review like TV shows or movies where people are struggling is sometimes there's so many things happening to the character, and I'm like, all this wouldn't happen at one time. That's not believable. And I think in 2020, it's believable. It's like all piling up. And I think one thing we don't realize, I think there's a need to stay informed, right? Like we want to know how to keep ourselves well. We want to know how we can be advocates for change. But every time we open social media to look at those things, we're getting it all, at us, and we feel that. And that just affects our overall mental health. So I think it's just my biggest takeaway of how that applies to today is realizing that you can absorb the information you need in moderation. And I think that's probably a nice transition into this concept of the mental health continuum, because absorbing too much of it can kind of take you to, the not great side of it.
Another problem. Yeah, so this is such an important, I like thinking about this. I've never really thought about mental health as a continuum, like either well or you're not well. Or I thought of it as a continuum of only time, like moments in our lives where we have highs and lows and smooth sailing and troubled waters. But explain a little bit about this, Janis, if you could.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, a lot of people think of it that way. Like we tend to think of mental health, often we'll think of it as either mental illness, or sometimes we think of it as like self-care, and that's all good. But it's important for us to recognize that it really is a continuum, and sometimes people travel across this continuum through the course of a week, a month, a year. But the other thing that's super important for us to think about is that the kinds of challenges that we have now that we're facing in this particular time, like everything happening, can definitely make us feel more stressed out and put us a little further on to the left of this continuum. But it can also help us to grow and learn, and develop new coping skills and figure out how to strike the right kind of balance for each of us as individuals and push us toward the right side where we're really thriving and we feel really well equipped to meet the challenges of life.